Good morning, Big Brother fans. It is me, Mike, a.k.a. BB Gossip, and it is Friday, June 27th, and we are less than 2 weeks out from Big Brother 27. It's 27th, it's the Big Brother 27. So, I don't have any really big news since the last time I talked to you, but I wanted to talk about a few other things. This is going to be more just things about podcasting, things about Twitter, maybe a little bit about Blue Sky. So some of you may be like, I don't want to hear this stuff, and go on. That's fine. For those of you that are interested, you'll get to hear me talk for at least a few minutes, possibly more than my normal. I am now, speaking of podcasting, I have now got a professional level, different level of my podcasting app, Spreaker, that I've used for years and years. I might have mentioned that previously I'd been limited to 15 minutes for podcasts. That is the free plan, which I use during the off season. And once Big Brother gets close to or kicks off, I have been switching to the paid tier, to the lowest paid tier. And I've talked about these different tiers in the past before. They changed over years, over time. Currently, the what I would call the basic, the bottom tier, I think it's called broadcaster tier, is all I need. As a matter of fact, it's more than I need. It gives you, I think it's up to 40 or 45 minutes of recording time per podcast. It also lets you see more stats and do a few other things. You can actually do more than one podcast, which for a while there, some of you would know I had 2 podcasts running, but once they restricted that to 1 podcast per account for the free level, I just archived that other podcast, and I haven't decided if and when I'm going to stand it back up. We'll see. But now, I actually did a meeting yesterday with a couple of folks from Spreaker, some very nice folks. And they gave me a couple of months of this tier of the broadcaster tier, which is great. And so I am back to being able to talk for a longer period of time because I am cheap, and so I look for ways to do things without having to pay too much, and so this is my option. And then for those of you that don't know, the free tier, I also not shy usually about talking about numbers. The free tier is free, obviously. It's what's nice about Spreaker is that it pushes it out to all of the podcasting things out there. iTunes, if you listen on Spotify, iHeartRadio, they're actually owned in part by iHeartRadio, or owned by iHeartRadio now. So there's multiple. Once I do it here, once I hit post, once I hit upload it pushes it out to all those other places, so that they can share it, and it also posts to Twitter, and we'll see how it works this time, posting to Blue Sky. I am using a different app to record this one, so they actually have 2 apps. They have what's called a studio app and a newer Spreaker app, and the newer Spreaker app allows you to do all kinds of stuff, all kinds of mixing and editing, and frankly, it's way too much for my needs, and I couldn't even figure out how to record on it, and I did that with the help of the folks at Spreaker. They pointed me to a KB, a knowledge base article, which is what you do as a tech person, and oh look, it tells you how to do it right there. And so I looked at the knowledge base article like, okay, I will try this, and that's what I'm doing. So I am recording this, and if this works easily, here's the key, that I can just literally post it fairly quickly once I'm done recording, then I will definitely switch over to using this app. So there's all technical stuff. As I said, the Big Brother talk is going to be very low today. This is more a test of me testing out the podcasting app and also talking about a few other things that I don't normally go into too much detail on. So we appear to be at 4.5 minutes so far, and that's the main parts of the Spreaker talk. We'll have more thoughts on this app if this is what works once we're done. Another nice thing about this one will be that if I screw up, which I do semi-often, and decide to scrap the whole recording and start over, I can do that. I will say, and I will pass this on to the Spreaker folks that what was nice about the Studio app is that it actually had a VU meter that you could see that you were recording. This says it's recording, but I don't see a VU meter, which means every once in a while there'll be a time that my microphone won't work, and I won't know it unless I look down and I see the VU meter isn't bouncing. That's the little lights that go up and down as you speak. There's no lights. It just says I'm recording, but I have had this happen in the past where it says I'm recording, but it records dead air. So it's not doing that, I'm 90% sure, but that would be a nice little feature to have on this recording part of the Spreaker app. So, Spreaker. I am done talking about Spreaker, at least for now. We'll talk about social media next. And I tweeted yesterday on Twitter, or on X. I posted on Blue Sky as well. Those are the two places that I really do anything active. I have other accounts elsewhere, but I really don't use them much. But it was yesterday was 2 weeks until Big Brother starts, right? So I posted that out there. And I made the post on Twitter, and as I've said multiple times now, I'm really not going to post much to Twitter anymore, at least as long as Mr. Musk owns the site. But I am posting there in part to let people know that, by the way, I'm over on Blue Sky, where I will be posting a lot. And so I posted that it was 2 weeks into Big Brother, and that I was going to mostly be on Blue Sky, and here's the link to my Blue Sky profile. And I used the same animated image that I used on Blue Sky when I posted the same thing. And so I kind of posted it up, and then I thought about something, and actually, was it? I can't remember. I think it was after. No, I didn't do this. All right, I can't remember now. John, you'll have to recall this. I don't know if this was yesterday's conversation or not. But one of my friends, John, and I were talking at lunch, and he mentioned he's involved in communication, social media stuff. And he mentioned a discussion he had at a meeting where one of the people presenting commented that it was more on Meta, which would be Facebook and such, that if you make a post which links off of the site that you're on, that post will end up getting less visibility. The creators of the different social media apps, not all of them, by the way, but the ones that are out there to make money. So Blue Sky says they don't do this, and I believe they don't do this, but other sites, if you put a link in your post to another site, so let's say you're on Twitter and you link to Facebook, or like me, you're posting to Twitter/X and you put a link to Blue Sky. The programmers have code written that says, hey, don't show that post as much to other people in their Discover feed, or they're checking. Just don't show it. They don't need to see that as much, because that encourages people to leave Twitter, right? So they make it less important. Whereas if you don't do that, then you at least just get your regular visibility that you would get for any other kind of just random comment. And so I can't remember if we had this discussion before or after I did this, but I wanted to do a test, and I think it was after my conversation, because my thought was Twitter does not like Blue Sky, and we've heard that there's terms like shadow banning and different things where you're like, yeah, they're keeping my posts from being visible because they know I'm not a fan of the site that I'm posting on, which I have been very clear that I'm not. And so I put a second post up about an hour after the first yesterday morning, and the second post, now there's a thing here, it's an hour later. So it's an hour later in the morning, so it's a little bit more active in my brain on Twitter probably than it was when I first posted. But that little variable aside, my second post was much simpler and just mentioned that Big Brother starts in 2 weeks, and I had no link, no mention of Blue Sky, and then I posted the same image, because that's another thing. Posting images is supposed to get you more visibility, right? So that's why people do it now. They post images because it gets more attention. And so I posted the same image without a link to Blue Sky, without mentioning Blue Sky, just mentioning that Big Brother starts in 2 weeks. Now, as of now, because I checked this morning right now before I did this, I have almost 1,300 views. It says engagement, but I read it as 1,300 people have, in theory, in their timeline, seen my original post. All right, which that number, I think, for some people would be great, and it's fine. It was much lower than that yesterday, but as I just checked it now, and I don't know how many people have clicked on any links or how many have done that. They don't, first of all, you don't get those kind of stats anymore for free. So I don't tend to check them anyways. We used to have stats that you could look at and they were interesting, but they've taken that away for free people. And, the second post that I did not have anything done an hour later, currently, as of right now, has almost 5,000 views. And a much greater number of likes, and it actually has a couple comments, which that's fine too, but the much more what I would call engagement, or at least views, on the second one. Now, is it all because it was an hour later? Is it all because it doesn't have any mention of Blue Sky or any links offside? Is it because maybe somebody influential retweeted the second one but not the first one, and so that's why it suddenly got more visibility? I don't know. Those are things that are hard to say, because I think it got at least a few retweets. Both of them got a few retweets. So there's a chance that some big influencer retweeted the second one but not the first one. I don't know, but really, honestly, I feel very strongly that it's because of the linking and the mentioning of Blue Sky in the first one that it got less visibility. So just kind of this is a long way for me to say, if you want to be visible, if you want your post to be seen by the most number of people possible, you may want to not link to some outside site, especially Blue Sky, and you may not want to mention Blue Sky. That's I can't tell the difference there on whether the mentioning and the linking were both downgraded the visibility of that post, or just the linking. I would assume the linking was the major problem. And that's just a little guideline. It's and include a picture. So that's my discovery, or my kind of little experiment that I did yesterday. What else? Speaking of Blue Sky, so I'm there. More people are showing up. Another interesting stat. Spreaker, or not Spreaker, sorry. We're done talking about Spreaker. On Twitter, I started keeping track back in like October or November, when I kind of decided I'm out of here and I'm going to be mainly on Blue Sky. I started keeping track of the number of followers I had on Twitter to see how quickly it dropped. And it always dropped after Big Brother. After every season it drops. And then I started also keeping track of the number of Twitter followers. And so I was looking at my net followers. How many followers am I losing off of Twitter? How many am I gaining on Blue Sky? And how does that even out? Or does it even out? Or am I a net gain or a net loss? I do know, I kind of glanced at the statistics yesterday. I was back whenever I first started doing it, I was like 116,000 followers on Twitter. I don't know what my number on Blue Sky was, but I want to say I was probably in the 2,000 range or somewhere in there. And that was right before the big blow up in Blue Sky that happened when Elon decided to kind of really put his thumb on the scale in politics and stuff, and people got really fed up with him. So as of yesterday, rough numbers here, I am like 112 some thousand Twitter followers, which losing 4,000 followers, it could be partially because I started complaining about Blue Sky and complaining about politics, but it also, I generally would lose 5,000 followers over the course of the time between Big Brother being off the air and when it came back. So that was kind of a thing that would happen. Blue Sky, I am over 6,400 followers now, I think. So I am a net gain. I'm at like I was at 118,000 followers back last fall total when you added the Blue Sky and the Twitter together, and I'm at 119,000 now. These are all within, hundreds. So I'm actually have more followers between the two sites now than I had last fall. And I'm more on Blue Sky and less on Twitter, and I'm okay with that. I also find that my engagement on Twitter or on my Blue Sky is much higher per follower than it is on Twitter, which I've been saying for a long time. So that's something to think about, right? We're at 15 minutes. Now, this is where my new account kicks in, because we are now past the 15-minute mark. Oh, there aren't many of you still listening to this, so I appreciate those of you that have hung in to it. This really is a very techie version of me talking. But so that's something to think about. Just an FYI. That's what's happened with my account. My Twitter, and now my Twitter is currently public. It was private for a long time, for a few months. I turned it back to public because I do want to help people on Twitter find me on Blue Sky. And so I keep announcing that I've moved, which some people snarkily say you don't need to announce you're leaving. And it's like, well, no, I kind of do, because there's people showing up every day that are like, where's PB Gossip, or where are these other people? Because there are other accounts that have completely left Twitter and didn't leave a note on the door saying where they'd moved to. And so I'm trying to be occasionally sticking my head in the community and saying, by the way, some of us are over here now. That's my purpose in being on Twitter for the most part. All right, with that, guys, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I'm going to talk about. And of course, I don't usually use notes, so I'm not using notes. And so I don't have anything else to tell you other than we'll talk about Big Brother for a second here. I kind of said this already, but we'll say it in my last one, but we'll say it again. So in theory today, the house guests are getting locked up, right? They're getting set up in sequester. They will have to turn on their phones. They'll have no contact with the outside world. They won't know what's going on. And then they will be shuffled into the Big Brother house in less than 2 weeks. Maybe a week from now, maybe a little bit more than a week from now, they will end up in the Big Brother house, and we'll get our show on the road. So that in mind, it's possible, very possible, hopeful that we'll start getting more information about Big Brother, the show, next week. So we might get more teasing about the house, more teasing about what the theme is going to be, right? They keep thinking murder mystery. They put a new promo out that had like a screaming voice. It was almost like a dark and stormy night, and kind of weird angles, shots in previous seasons of the Big Brother house, and then you heard an eerie scream. So I'm at least theorizing murder mystery. Other people are saying one of the house guests that goes in is going to get, quote, killed or murdered the very night, evicted the first night, that kind of stuff. So we'll see what it actually means, of course, when the show starts. But maybe we'll get a little bit more of that teasing going on. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of the house, or I don't think we'll get a cast next week, but we're hoping to see a little bit more information start coming out, right? So got that. Anything else, folks? Honestly, that's what I got for you. I am going to try to get this posted this morning. I'll have to fumble through the controls on this new little Spreaker thing. Obviously, you're listening to it now, so I managed to do it. Hopefully it's painless, and I'll talk about that maybe in the next one. But thanks again for listening to all of this. And this is not a typical podcast for me. I am usually much more just talking about the show and less about the tech side of things, but I do like to do this stuff too. All right, take care, everybody. Be well. Bye-bye.